Alright, welcome back to Dinopedia, entry number 43, the Stygimoloch. Remember to like if you like, and subscribe down below for more videos. Alright, so our schedule as always is look at the Stygimoloch from the Ark Survival Ascended Additional Creatures mod, tips and tricks for the Stygimoloch, potential add-ons for Ark Survival Ascended if it was released into the full game, not just the mod, and reworking for my new game Dino World. Let's get into it. So the Stygimoloch in Ark Survival Ascended is added through the Additional Creatures mod. It's obviously an animal, so Kingdom Animalia and Group Reptilian, because dinosaurs are ancestral lizards and lizards are reptiles. Description is domed head, because obviously it has a armored dome on its head with some extra spikes. Traits in the wild, it's an aggressive herbivore, charges constantly, knocking down trees and bucking up players. Bucking up refers to how a bull, if it charges at a person, will lower its head, lifting up the target as it's charging into it and bucking them into the air, basically launching them into the air vertically. That's basically what bucking up means. So basically when you see this thing, I would stay away unless you're hunting it, and still try and stay a little bit away from it because it will charge constantly, so be wary. So the Stygimoloch in Ark Survival Ascended is bigger than the Pachycephalosaurus in stats, which is weird because the Stygimoloch is like half size to the Pachycephalosaurus, so it kind of makes no sense that its stats are bigger, which is what I'm going to be changing in Dino World, because if it's half as small, it shouldn't have bigger health stats. So it has a health of 645, stamina 520, oxygen 225, food and water 2250 each, weight 400, melee attacks, its base attack where it headbutts you is 13, but its charge attack where it bucks you up in the air is 22 base damage. It has a walking speed of 5 meters per second as it usually runs and is usually charging everywhere, with a swimming speed of 3 meters per second and a torpor of 890. So pretty sizable stats to a Pachycephalosaurus, which makes kind of no sense because it's like almost half as small. So it's kind of weird that it doesn't have like lower stats, which will be changing. So tips and tricks, it has a frightening roar. Its roar ability induces the frighten debuff, which drains the affected creature's torpor. So it is a torpor dealing dinosaur, similar to Troodons. So I would use it in combat, obviously to, you know, just knock out enemy creatures by just reducing their torpor. It also has a bucking charge. When charging in a similar sized target, it will buck them when hitting them with its charge, making them fly up and back into the air. That's what I talked about earlier. It is size dependent, so it will not do this to a Rorax or a Carno, but Dilophosaurus, Raptor, Human, I would say even Moe's Chops, even if I wouldn't really do that to it. Copies, Troodons, it would basically buck anything that is similar size to it into the air, so do watch out for that. And then tricks, fast travel. Its speed is very fast for its size because it's like similar to the Pachycephalo, but it has better speed, which is weird, making it perfect tame for moving both resources and protecting other dinosaurs with its powerful bucking charge. It's basically like a better Pachycephalo, but it makes no sense because it's like half the size of a Pachycephalo, but it has similar health stats. It's just kind of weird because it looks like they tried to add a new like Pachycephalo, because obviously it was in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and they were trying to play off the hype train, but they didn't realize that like if it's half size, it shouldn't have better health than a dinosaur that's double its size. It feels like they were just trying to add a better one, or at least like a more like unique one to the Pachycephalo, but they didn't realize that they needed to like, you know, nerf some stats because it is smaller to like balance it out. So of course some potential add-ons, obviously infinite charge, similar to the Pachy. Its charges do not affect or lower its stamina bar, so it can constantly charge. The Pachy has this in Ark right now, so it doesn't really, so obviously the Pachy is still better in combat if you're trying to charge from long distances, but the Stygimoloch is good if you like break into a base and it can just like run around and charge and knock things over and break stuff like egg incubators. But I do think it should have an infinite charge similar to the Pachy, where its charges do not affect or lower its stamina bar, so it can constantly charge. I think if they nerf the health stats and nerf a little bit more of its stats to make it half of what the Pachycephalo is in terms of health, stamina, and food and weight, I feel like this would be like a good thing to have. But until they nerf the stats, I really do think it doesn't really need any more OP abilities. Similarly, dizziness. When charging to hit a structure, it will break wood, stone, bone structures, but will become confused and dazed, meaning it'll kind of like shake its head a little bit. Similar to what happened in the movie where it kept hitting the brick wall and it kept, being dizzy, and it kept hitting the metal wall and like fell down. It's like they're kind of like dumb because they'll keep hitting stuff, but like they'll get dizzy eventually. So looking at the Ark Survival Evolved Stylomech versus the Jurassic World one, I think the Ark one looks better. I think they did a good job designing it, but I do think the Jurassic World one is still unique as it does have those head spikes as well that go up instead of down. I do like the ones that go down instead of up, but I will say that this head shape in general does look a little bit better than the Ark Survival one. I think the only thing that makes the Ark Survival one better is that it has more detail in the body compared to the Ark one, because this one actually has hands and this one kind of just has like stubs, and like the hands are down here but you can't really see them in this picture. So it's like the Ark one's more detailed in the body, which gives it the edge, but the head in the Jurassic World model is better. And looking at the Dino World one, I think the Ark Survival one is second to ours. I think ours looks better just because we have the the blue color against the orange, and I do think the upward spikes are better than the downward spikes. So I do think the upward ones that point upwards rather than the ones that point towards the ground are better for the head shape. So the Stylomech in Dino World, no change to the name. It has two types: normal Stylomech, which is the wild and tamed dino variant, one you can find in the wild or tamed at your disposal. And then the mutated Stylomech, which is the product of two tamed Stylomech breeding, mating, and laying eggs, plus a gene computer to generate mutations. So the Stylomech is obviously an animal, so kingdom Animalia and group Reptilian, nothing has changed. However, it's in the class of Battledome because it has a domed head, and the family of domed head, which includes the Pachycephalosaurus. So of course, the Stylomech in Dino World stats are very nerfed because it's half size of the Pachycephalo, so it reflects that. So of course, its health is 250 instead of 645, stamina is 300 instead of 520, oxygen is 150 instead of 225, food and water 1500 instead of 2250, weight is 300 instead of 400, melee damage is base damage of 15 and 25. I nerfed the stats, but made the damage a little bit better to counteract that because it does constantly charge things. So I did want to give it a little bit of buffs on melee damage and damage attacks with its bucking charge and headbutt attacks if I'm going to nerf everything else. So instead of 13, it's 15 base damage. Instead of 22, it's 25 base damage. The only other difference is that the torpor is 300 instead of 890 with a fortitude of 0 because it's too small to have a fortitude. So of course, the Stylomech in Dino World will still have the infinite charge ability where the charge does not lower its stamina bar at all, so it can infinitely charge and constantly charge things, and it has dizziness if it hits a structure. So of course, number 3, always active, always headbutts trees, rocks, other dinos, and players. So if you do see in the wild, please stay wary because it will headbutt you if it gets too close. It'll headbutt trees, rocks, and other dinos, so it'll always be a problem dinosaur, and maybe that'll make it so it keeps getting attacked, and maybe you'll have to, not deal with it as much. And then also it has a horned headbutt ability, a charged headbutt ability, so not only does it have a headbutt, a charge ability, but also a charged headbutt ability that allows it to charge and not only buck someone, but also induce headshots and torpor drains from his headbutt ability. And then finally, ability Horn Charge, infinite charge attack to issue a powerful headbutt that deals ×2 damage with a 15-second cooldown. So it's basically a double damage charge attack that you can use. That's also an infinite charge along with its passive. So it's a horned charge that induces torpor damage, ×2 headbutt damage, and more powerful with an infinite charge duration with a 15-second cooldown to, again, balance it. It is a combat ability. And the final thing we're going to look at is spawn rates for the main map of Europa. Obviously, spawn rates for Dino World are color-coded, with blue being guaranteed, green very likely, yellow feudal likely, orange for rare, red for very rare, and purple for dead. Obviously, the Stylomech only spawns in drier environments, so it will spawn very likely in the desert, but it also very rarely spawn on dry beaches such as the Badlands beach right here, but also on southern beaches in the southeastern jungle, and of course on Herbivore Island, where of course it's going to only have herbivores there, so it makes sense the Stylomech would spawn there, but obviously very rare as it's more likely to be found in the desert. Alright, and that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you like, dislike if you don't, subscribe you really like it, comment down with your thoughts. Everyone have a blessed day as always. And of course, as always, toodaloo.